Uno, dos, tres, probando. All the mics tested. Ok. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Tania Chávez Camacho. Soy presidenta y directora ejecutiva de la Unión del Pueblo Entero, TANIA. Thank you everybody for being here. And today we have the privilege and honor of hosting Senator Padilla at a round table, along with different members of the community and various organizations who are on the ground advocating for immigrant rights in South Texas. Today's round session was about listening firsthand about the experience of the community. It was about sharing what we are seeing on the ground as an organization. At LUPE, we're a DOJ accredited organization, and we have over 20 DACA recipients who have lapsed on their DACA applications. They were submitted on time, and they have yet to be approved. We're also seeing folks with U visas, with military paroles, whose visas are either being denied or delayed. And we are seeing LUPE members, since the stories of the two LUPE members, DACA recipients, Jose Contreras and Jennifer England, went live. We are getting calls in our office of various LUPE members who are currently in detention. Today, we heard of a LUPE member with a visa who was granted because of criminal, he was a victim of crime, and he's being in detention for over 7 months. These are the stories that we hear at LUPE every day. These are the stories of our LUPE members. These are the stories that represent the broader community of South Texas. We are seeing increased militarization in our community, increased collaboration from DPS and CBP. People in the McAllen airport are getting asked for their documents before they board. We are experiencing a different Rio Grande Valley, and we're very grateful that we have Senator Padilla, who has come down to hear on what is happening in the Rio Grande Valley. We need more senators and elected officials who are willing to listen, who are willing to be part of the change of bringing accountability to ICE and CBP. DHS does not need more funding. What we need is solutions and congressional action to ensure that DACA recipients and other immigrants get relief from deportation. And so with that, I'll yield to Senator Padilla to share about what he is hearing on the ground.
Thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for being here. As you heard, my name is Alex Padilla, proud to serve as the senior senator for the state of California. But I'm here in the Rio Grande Valley as the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, because I wanted to see firsthand what I've been hearing for a long time now. For the last almost year and a half under this the second Trump administration, there's been a big change in how we have discussed immigration in the Senate and in Congress, how the federal government has gone about immigration enforcement. At a very high level, there's actually agreement in terms of everybody understanding we need a safe, secure, orderly, and humane southern border. Disagreement on how to achieve that, but that's a point of agreement. As we talk about immigration broadly, we know that we need to modernize the system overall, whether it's work visas and student visas and people seeking asylum, etc. But what gets lost too often in the conversation is a recognition of the many long-term residents of the United States. People familiar with Dreamers or the plight of farm workers or others. There has to be a better way. We've been talking for a long time about providing relief to law-abiding long-term residents of the United States who might be undocumented. And at the beginning of this Trump administration, you heard a lot of talk about his agenda for mass deportation, and a lot of talk about targeting dangerous, violent criminals. He likes to say the word, the worst of the worst. What I've heard, and what we've seen, the Department of Homeland Security's own data has told us that over the last year and a half, there's some violent criminals, but the vast majority of the people who have been targeted by ICE raids, who have been detained, who have been arrested, many who have been deported without due process, are not dangerous, violent criminals. And it forces the question, and who are they? Maybe there's people who initially came on a visa and didn't renew. Maybe they came as dreamers, children brought here by their parents. Somehow they have become undocumented. But for those who have been here many years, they've been working. They've been paying taxes. They've been raising families. They've been contributing to not just the economy locally, but nationally. They've been making our communities stronger, contributing to the strength of our communities. They deserve better than the treatment that we've seen in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Portland, in Minnesota. And recently we've heard of the big uptick of that kind of activity and treatment here in Texas. And so I wanted to come see for myself and hear directly from individuals that have been impacted, from the advocacy organizations that are helping immigrant families and immigrant communities know their rights and exercise their rights. We're going to hear in a minute from a courageous young woman by the name of Jennifer England. And she'll share what she and her family have been through. What I will say is this: no parent should have to fear what may happen when they drop their child off at school. No parent should have to fear what might happen when they go to work, or whether they'll make it home safe at the end of the day. Our country's better than this, and that's what we're fighting for. Elevating these stories, elevating these cases to try to rattle the conscience of not just the country. I think most of the country understands that this administration has gone too far, that they have been lawless, that it is out of control. But we need the political courage in Congress to make the change that most people need, and that change begins with changes at ICE and CBP and how they go about enforcement. No more masked agents and unmarked vehicles. They have to identify themselves. No breaking into cars or houses. No entering houses without a signed judicial warrant. Very basic law enforcement, common sense policies that most state and local law enforcement agencies have to abide by. That's what we're fighting for as we work towards long-term modernization of our immigration system. So thank you to LUPE for hosting us today, and happy to introduce Jennifer as the next speaker. Unas palabras en español, yo creo. Mi nombre es Alex Padilla, senador representante del estado de California, pero esta visita aquí a Texas es en mi capacidad como el demócrata principal en el subcomité del Senado que se enfoca en los asuntos de inmigración. Sabemos, todo el mundo está de acuerdo que tenemos que modernizar el sistema de inmigración, las leyes de inmigración en este país, no solo para mantener una frontera segura, pero que trata de manera humana a gente que va y viene cada día, estudiando, trabajando, de turistas, etc. Debemos de modernizar el sistema no solo para mejor servir a gente que quiere venir a trabajar o a estudiar, pero también para poder mejor respetar las personas que han vivido aquí en los Estados Unidos, en casos por muchos años, en otros casos por décadas, trabajando, creando familias, pagando impuestos, fortaleciendo nuestras comunidades locales y la economía nacional. La manera en que esta administración está tratando de enforzar las leyes de inmigración no es la manera que sirve el interés de nuestras familias y de nuestro país. Por más que habla el presidente Trump sobre los criminales violentos, sabemos por los datos proveídos del Departamento Federal que la gran mayoría de personas que han sido detenidas, muchas deportadas sin el proceso debido que merecen, no son criminales violentos. Son personas trabajadoras en industrias claves, esenciales a nuestro país y nuestra economía. Esas familias, nuestras comunidades, este país merece mejor. Y este es el propósito de mi visita aquí en el sur de Texas, porque he visto lo que ha pasado en California, hemos visto, escuchado, aprendido mucho de lo que ha ocurrido en Washington, D.C., en la ciudad de Chicago, en Portland, en Oregón, en el estado de Minnesota. Pero se escuchan también los casos aquí en Texas y quería venir para ver por mí mismo y aprender para poder compartir con mis colegas en el Capitolio. No solo mis colegas republicanos, también mis colegas demócratas, porque esto tiene que ser una prioridad en el mejor interés de nuestras comunidades y del país. Muchísimas gracias.
Hello everyone. My name is Jennifer England and I am a proud LUPE member and DACA recipient. Until recently, I was also a registered nurse assistant. But the titles I value the most is that of a daughter, sister, and more importantly, mother. On May 21st, I was released from El Valle Detention Facility in Raymondville, Texas, after about 3 months in detention. During my detention, I experienced something never imagined possible. I was stripped of my prescription medications, basic hygiene necessities, and most cruel and unusual thing that happened to me was the harassment, the neglect, not only for myself, but every other man and woman that were alongside me in that detention. Being home still feels so surreal. I still find it scary that I could wake up tomorrow and be right back in that cell. I feel a great amount of uncertainty with this ankle monitor that I wear because Immigration Services has my exact location at every moment. Any second they can just come and remove me and re-traumatize my children all over again. I am in the process of appealing. My attorney tells me that this will still be an uphill hill. Thus enforcing a little bit more of that insecurity and that anxiety of what will end up happening. But the fight does go on. And I'm not gonna throw in the towel yet. It doesn't matter how exhausted, how drained, or how beaten I felt while being in there. I will continue fighting for my daughters. The moment that my eldest daughter took her first breath, I stopped living for myself and I started living for them. Everything I've done is for them and because of them. Even at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, as I was deployed to New York City as support for that very uncertain and novel health crisis. After straining shifts of 16, 18, 20 hours, 120 hours a week, 3 months, no days off, because that's what was needed. I eventually became very ill and was diagnosed with acute hypoxia, which means my lungs were no longer working, they were crashing. I was placed on a ventilator and was in an induced coma for 2 weeks. After waking up, I rehabbed and went right back to work, because if I was there with no autoimmune protection, now that I had it, now it was my duty to stay. It was difficult, but I decided to continue. working up there in New York, and I couldn't leave the people that saved my life. I was indebted, and I had an obligation to fulfill. However, even though that sense of obligation, I wanted to come home, but as the main source of income for my household, I also knew that I could support them better from afar. It wasn't easy, especially as I witnessed the rise in anti-immigration policies and tensions everywhere. But when I learned that my daughter was dealing with her own mental health struggles, I made the decision to move back, bringing with me so many uncertainties. Never did I think a ticket or an expired license would change my life so drastically. A couple of months after I returned home, my biggest hope is that my appeal is successful and that I am not deported. I pray every single day that that doesn't happen, that I am allowed to stay and continue serving the country that I grew up in. Don't get me wrong, I'm very proud of my roots and where I come from, but I wouldn't know what to do if I was forced to move back. I want to be able to work and provide for my family and my daughters. I want to provide my girls a life where they can thrive. So I make this call to action to the public and anyone listening. DACA recipients need solutions now. We need permanent pathways to citizenship, and we need to end these limbo situations we have been tied in for years. Thank you.
¿Hablo español, por favor? ¿Algo
Ah,
breve?
Mi nombre es Jennifer England. Soy recipiente de DACA, con DACA activo. Yo fui parada por un policía de tránsito el 21 de mayo. Fui cometida en el Valle Detention Center, donde a pesar de que mi DACA estaba activo y no se vencía hasta el septiembre del 2027, aún me tuvieron detenida, en donde se nos niegan cosas tan básicas como papel de baño, en donde el acoso y el abuso mental y emocional por las que todos los que están ahí detenidos pasan, es algo que hasta el día de hoy, aun cuando soy libre, me sigue marcando. Todavía sigo teniendo miedo que porque tengo el monitor en el tobillo, en cualquier momento van a venir y volverme a remover del lado de mis hijas. Y que vuelvan a pasar por ese trauma. Un trauma que ni ellas ni yo merecemos. Hay que buscar por alguna manera de poder dar a todos los recipientes de DACA un proceso a poder estar aquí permanentemente. No somos criminales. Yo llegué aquí cuando tenía 5 años. He estado en este país 27 años. No conozco México, pero sí conozco la violencia de ella. Después de una carrera de más de una década en enfermería y haciendo todo lo posible hasta el punto de arriesgar mi propia vida para salvar a aquellos que la necesitaban en el momento más crucial por la que no nada más este país, todo el mundo pasó por eso. Yo decidí dejar a mi familia y salir y ayudar porque ese era mi deber. Ayudar al país que me vio crecer. El país que yo también considero mi país. Sigo teniendo el temor, pero jamás me voy a rendir. Como digo, desde que mi hija más grande de 13 años dio su primer respiro, yo dejé de vivir para mí y vivo para ellas. No importa qué tan largo sea el proceso, no importa si me vuelven a meter ahí, yo no me voy a dar por vencida y no me van a silenciar. no nos vamos a dar por vencidos y trabajando juntos, no importa qué partido, no importa, porque estas son vidas humanas, son familias, son madres, padres, hermanos, abuelos, que no son criminales. Hay que parar todo este enforzamiento de temor por todos los oficiales de ICE, porque eso no está bien y no nos vamos a rendir. Gracias.
Thank you, Jennifer. Rochelle?
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Garza. I'm a border resident, fifth generation Tejana from the region, and I'm president of the Texas Civil Rights Project. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and Senator Padilla's willingness to come to our community and listen to us. Enforcement practices are out of control. There are a lot of us from the Rio Grande Valley that have family members that work in enforcement, that work in detention, but this is not about enforcement, what we are seeing happen across this country. This is about causing real harm to communities. There are 400,000 people that have been taken by ICE since the beginning of the Trump administration. And what that has led to is 145,000 US citizen children without one of their parents. 22,000 don't have a single parent in their household that has been taken by ICE. Now, we work here in the Rio Grande Valley. We represent the Hernandez family, a family from Hidalgo County that was caught up in this enforcement. TCRP has been proud to represent this family. They were deported with their US citizen children last year. The family's daughter, Sara, had a rare brain tumor. She was 10 years old at the time, and she was recovering from that surgery. And the family's eldest son, who has remained here in the Valley, has bravely supported his family while trying to graduate from high school on his own without the support of his parents and his siblings. And he's had to work multiple jobs to pay for his sister's medicine. And recently, the family's humanitarian parole applications were denied by the Trump administration. This is family separation. This is family separation. We are seeing it happen all over the Rio Grande Valley. We are seeing it happen all over the country. And we're not going to stop fighting for the families across this country. We're not going to stop fighting for the Hernandez family here in South Texas. And as a country, I know that we are better than this. This is about who we want to be. Are we going to be cruel to each other? Are we going to welcome everyone into this country? And people who have already been here for generations. So as an attorney myself, I've spent many years working to protect immigrants' rights, from due process to reproductive rights to basic human dignity. So I know that for many of us here today, these issues are not new. We've been experiencing it for decades. So this opportunity to be here to listen to the community members has really cemented to me that our voices matter and that we can come together and make a real difference. So thank you to Senator Padilla for being here, to my friends and colleagues that were here today, to Jennifer for sharing her story. Thank you for being here, because I know that we can do better. So thank you again.
And at LUPE, we continue to represent the over 8,000 members who are part of this community, many of whom are undocumented, many of whom are US citizens who are preparing to vote in the upcoming elections, many who are legal permanent residents who are still fighting for their own right to stay in this country. Como LUPE, seguimos en esta lucha por los más de 8,000 miembros que son parte de nuestra comunidad, muchos quienes son indocumentados, de los que escuchamos el día de hoy, y quienes ellos reconocen que hoy se vive en una administración distinta, que esta administración se vive con miedo, pero que nosotros vamos a seguir luchando por el derecho de que se queden aquí. También trabajamos con personas que son ciudadanas americanas y son votantes, y quienes van a salir a las urnas en estas próximas elecciones. Y por todas las personas con estatus mixtos, incluyendo los residentes permanentes, quienes aún viven con miedo porque no les garantiza que se puedan quedar aquí, porque en el Valle del Río Grande son unas de las más altos números de detenciones que se están viviendo en estos centros de detenciones y que nadie está llamando la atención a nivel nacional. Cuando Harlingen y los centros de detenciones del Valle del Río Grande son los que están a la alta a nivel nacional, ¿por qué es que no tenemos más miembros de nuestra comunidad alzando las voces? Y esta es una invitación a nuestros congresistas locales y a nuestros oficiales electos locales a que vean el valor y follow the example of Senator Padilla, who's here today, to share and learn more from us who are on the ground. And so this is an invitation, una invitación a todos los oficiales electos para que aprendan del ejemplo del senador Padilla que estuvo aquí, aprender de lo que está pasando y aprender de primera voz lo que se vive y cómo se vive en el Valle del Río Grande. At this point,
We should take a couple questions.
we'll take a few questions.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, Senator. Thanks for coming. Can you tell us what you learned that was, really eye-opening to you? How you plan to take this back to Washington? And do you think you can affect change with the Republican-led administration?
So first of all, what I've learned, so my day actually started at the Hidalgo port of entry, right? Because there's a lot of elements to immigration, not just the enforcement actions that's happening near the border or far into the interior. This is a wonderful example. I represent California. I can talk about the relationship between the city of San Diego and Tijuana and the people who come back and forth on a daily basis and what it means for the regional economy, right? Not unfamiliar with El Paso and Juarez and the relationship between those two cities and what it means for the regional economy. So similarly in other parts of Texas, it's the nature of this region. But to hear things like, oh, there's no more asylum seekers because the policy of the administration is just no, regardless of the credibility of the claim. Okay, that's not good. That's not a change in the law. This is a change in policy by this administration. So again, I point to the safety, security of the border is important. We agree. Humane treatment of people, that's important. That seems to have been lost. And of course, for the people who have been here for years, they deserve better. And so hearing firsthand what the individual cases have been, the individuals, the families, organizations that are assisting them, I think is helpful in helping make the case to my colleagues in Washington. It is not easy with the Republican-led administration. That's not lost on me. But it doesn't mean it's less important. It's even more important because of how this administration has gone about it. So we'll try to help with individual cases as we can. We'll see if there's a change in November, not of an administration, but at least of a majority in Congress that can maybe prioritize things differently. And at some point, this Trump administration will be over, and we hope to pave the way for the bigger reforms that we know are necessary.
Just to clarify, did you say you started with the tour of the CBP at the bridges?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so today or?
This morning, yes.
Okay, do you have anything else planned?
We do have other things planned, but this is the most important part.
Any other questions from members of the press?
Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Uh-oh.
Ni modo, les quedamos a ver el micrófono.
Is it your first time here, sir?
To the Valley, yes, but to Texas, not by a long shot.
Thank you.